Have you seen the new stream by Harvard psychiatrist Dr. Kanojia? It's really cool. He helps gamers on stream. I would love to see you have a conversation with him. He is starting nowish. Yeah, I would talk to him. That sounds interesting. Should I try to talk to him right now? This guy.
But I think we've gotten a bunch of questions about this idea that happiness is different from, or unhappiness is different from depression. That in my clinical practice, a lot of times I treat people with...
Should I talk to this guy?
Who is Reckful?
Oh, shit.
Yeah, sure. We can talk to Reckful. Can we talk to him in like 30 minutes?
30 minutes is fine.
Yeah, we can talk to Reckful. Let me just check real quick with Lupus. Yeah, Reckful can come. Yeah, let's do 30 minutes, Reckful. Did you used to play,
Don't Google me.
let me see if Lupus can... We can do Lupus in a little bit.
He didn't want to be wrong. Did I used to play? Did he used to play what? Okay.
Okay. Lupus is fine with waiting. Let's talk to Reckful. How do we do this?
Oh, shit. Right now. Okay, let's go. I really have to take a piss, though. I need to add him on Discord. Hold on.
Let's talk to Reckful, but I don't know how to do that. Check.
I love this. This is fun. Okay, I have to take a piss while he's gonna... I messaged him to give me the... I DM'd him to give me the Discord. And then I'm gonna take a piss. And I'll be ready.
Okay. Hello, Reckful chat. So now I'm waiting for a friend request. Did this guy used to play like a Tauren warrior on PvP and WoW like a decade ago? Is this the same Reckful? Rogue, but he did play PvP, right? Like there are YouTube videos about Reckful Gladiator. That's this guy, right? Yeah, like I watched. Yeah, I watched this guy's YouTube videos when I used to play WoW, but that's like a decade ago. I'm surprised people even. Yeah, Reckful Gladiator, right? That was this guy. Fucking owned people, like back in vanilla WoW or like Burning Crusade. That's this guy, right? Like before Frozen Throne. It's the guy who missed Lethal at BlizzCon.
God damn it, guys, stop! Okay.
In Hearthstone. Okay, I'm waiting for a friend request.
Okay. He's waiting for a friend request. Dr. K. Added. Okay, then...
Okay, added. Let's see. Do I have pending? Here we go. Done. Okay.
Okay. And I'm gonna call him. Here we go. I should turn the stream off. Where do I have it open? Right here.
Yep.
Hello.
All right. Hey, man.
Hey. What's up?
What's up, dude? So hold on one second. Let me figure out. Can we do a video call? Can you do video or you want?
Oh, I could. Can my video? Let's see. I don't know if my video can be on the stream and on here at the same time. Maybe it can. So we're. Mine might not be able to.
It's not. I just get a lot from facial expressions, and the only problem with stream is that it's going to be.
Ooh, that's true. How could I do this?
How do you have
So you're just using a webcam. It's the same webcam. It's on your OBS and on the Discord. And it's working fine.
No, so that has worked fine, but I just went ahead and got 2 webcams because people tell me that that's easier. But I think what you can do is like disable and re-enable the. You can get Discord to pull it.
And then the OBS will still pull it. Okay, I'll try right now. I'm gonna deactivate on OBS, and then I'm gonna try to get Discord to pull it. And it's not doing it yet. It pulled it.
But
You see me? You see me now?
Yeah, I see you.
Okay, now I'm going to try to put it back on the OBS. Can you still see me? Wait.
Yeah.
I can't. The OBS doesn't see me at the. Maybe the OBS can't pull it also. I could do just the one. Wait, I could do just the one, and I could just show this. Oh, I'm flipped. Okay, I'll just show my webcam on here. This works.
Okay, hold on 1 second. I don't want people to see your. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
We good?
Yeah, man. So tell me, I've been living under a rock for many years.
Yeah.
But stream chat is telling me that you're the guy. You're Reckful Gladiator, right?
Yes.
That's you. Yeah. So I guess that makes me a fan, but from like a decade ago.
Yeah, that's most of my viewers. They're a fan from a decade ago. That's interesting.
So tell me, what are we talking about today, buddy?
Well,
Am I calling you Reckful?
You can call me Byron if you want, but yeah, I've dealt with depression my whole life, pretty much. I mean, since I was like 14, and I'm 30 now.
Okay.
And a bunch of people in my chat were telling me I should call you, so here I am. It's actually starting to get better just recently, because I'm like working on a project with some friends, and it gives me a sense of purpose, I guess.
Okay.
But
what?
Yeah, go ahead.
What's the project? And by the way, so a couple of ground rules. So I'm a psychiatrist, but I can't treat your depression over the internet.
Yeah, gotcha.
Unfortunately. And then the other thing is I tend to ask a lot of questions. If there's anything that you don't feel comfortable answering, just don't answer it. And just let me know.
Okay.
Okay.
And yeah, I need to turn your volume up, they're saying. Okay, I'm turning it up now. Okay, is that good, chat? Okay, talk a little? Okay.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Should be good. All right, yeah, you can ask whatever you want, and if I don't want to answer it on stream, I just won't, I guess.
Answer.
Yeah, okay.
So tell me, what do you mean by depression? Let's start there.
Well, I've been diagnosed with bipolar type 2. And when I was 6, my brother killed himself. He also had it.
How old was he?
He was 21. It's a very big age gap.
Okay.
And then because of that, when I've gone to get treated, they never give me SSRIs. I've never tried an SSRI because he's tried an SSRI and then that happened after.
Okay.
Prozac.
Okay.
And I've tried a couple things. I've tried I was on a really high dose of lithium at one point, and then
how did that make you feel?
Very bland. Yeah, the same thing people always say, like kind of dead. You know, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then God, I've tried a bunch of other ones, but they're not super memorable. One of them gave me like some eye pain, so I had to stop taking it because I was really sensitive to light. Maybe you know which one I'm talking about. I don't know. I tried a bunch of different ones. This is like 14 years ago, most of it. So now I don't really remember.
Okay.
But okay.
Has medication ever been helpful?
So the only thing that's been really helpful is when I was in Amsterdam, I took psilocybin, and it really worked for me.
You know, so this is fascinating. So the FDA just today, I think, classified psilocybin as a breakthrough therapy. I don't know if people know this.
Yeah, I heard about it. Yeah.
So, okay, so psilocybin was helpful, and in what way?
It's such an intense feeling. It's kind of hard to explain, but it let me get out of these thought loops that I was in that were causing me to be sad, and I just step back and see things in a new perspective.
Okay. So today is supposed to be a stream about meditation, and Reckful, I'm going to ask you a couple of other questions, but if it's okay with you guys, we're going to talk about that and what's happening in your mind and why psilocybin is helpful and how you can cultivate that sensation without using psilocybin.
Okay.
So the first thing is this phrase, a thought loop, I love. So why don't you explain to people what is a thought loop?
Okay, you'd explain it better, but just certain things, you're going along through your day and a certain thing happens and it always causes you to think in the same pattern of a certain negative feeling at the end. And I always hear it described as it's like an icy mountain with the sleds. A lot of sleds have gone down, and then there's these patterns of form that your mind tends to go down one of these paths of the sleds.
Yep.
And then when you're on psilocybin, it seems like it doesn't. It's just kind of free to think whatever.
Yeah, so... Okay. Yeah, so let's talk about thought loops for a second. So the first thing to understand is that it's a repetitive pattern of thinking that sort of leads you to the same place every time, but then you take the ski lift back to the top of the mountain, and then you just go back down it again.
Yes.
Right? So, like, this is important to understand because your mind thinks that it's doing productive thinking, but it's not doing productive thinking.
Yes.
It's just thinking the same shit over and over again. So I kind of think about thought loops like chewing gum. Like they're working, but there's no nutrition. There's no actual resolution and there's no benefit. You're just chewing the same shit over and over and over again.
Okay. Yeah.
The other thing is, in your case, like, I would imagine that your thought loops are focused on yourself, right? They're about you.
My thought loops are about me. I have to think about it if that's true. Yeah. So, what are the thought loops I have?
Yeah, so let's start there.
Usually they have to do with, leading back to everything has no purpose, something like that, I think. But but then at the same time, even when I'm happy, I don't mind the thought that everything has no purpose. So that's a strange, it seems contradictory, you know, so it's not. It's not. Okay. Tell me why.
It does seem contradictory.
Okay.
Okay. So, because this is, so let me ask you, okay, we're going to get weird, Reckful. Do you believe that life, what do you think of, what's your sense of like what life is?
I'm an organism that came to be from two other organisms who liked each other enough to have a baby. Yeah.
Yeah. And is that is that all you are? You're just a biological organism?
And I have consciousness, which we can't really explain, the hard problem. Right?
Okay.
And yeah.
Yeah, so what does that mean? Like, what do you think about your life? Like, do you feel like your life has purpose?
Most of the time, no, but recently I've started to think yes, because I realize I can start trying to help other people who have had my same problems, so I relate to them. And then I hope by making this game I'm working on that they can find friendship and a sense of community. Because I'm making an MMO, like a really...
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome.
Things I wanted as a kid. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to just dive into Sanskrit for a second, okay? So Sanskrit, the yogis, like back in ancient India, like thousands of years ago, basically started to believe that the world was false. And the reason that they started to believe the world was false is because they sort of understood that, like, the sense organs can be falsified. So either through the use of hallucinogens or dreams.
Uh-huh.
But ultimately, that the experience that they have within a dream is actually the same experience that you have within reality. That even though a dream can be fake or real, your experience of a dream is the same as your experience of life. Like, you can feel suffering, you can feel joy, you can feel hope,
yes,
you can feel sorrow.
That's true.
Abject terror. And so what they realized is that, like, ultimately the foundation of reality is actually consciousness. And that the foundation of reality is experience, and that the external world is false.
Yeah, I've listened to The Case Against Reality. Maybe you've heard that. Dan Hoffman, I think. No?
I haven't heard that one in particular, but there's a lot of stuff from quantum mechanics that supports this. I don't know if Dan Hoffman talks about that.
Okay. Let me make sure that's his name.
But a good example of, like, understanding this from a quantum mechanics perspective, which there's an argument against what I'm about to say, which I'm happy to go into if people are interested. But basically, that reality exists as a probability, and it's the act of observation that causes a probability to collapse into a reality, which is sort of a weird, complicated thing to say.
Wait, say it one more time?
So that reality actually exists as a probability, like reality is not static, in that the act of observation causes a probability to collapse into a reality.
Okay.
So like the world exists as a probability waveform, and when you observe something, that probability disappears and it becomes a reality.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I've read some quantum mechanics stuff, like Sean Carroll or whatever.
Yeah. So like Schrodinger's cat, I think, is the best example of this.
Yeah.
But then there was this experiment called the double slit experiment, which actually proved that
that one's really weird. Yeah.
It's bizarre.
Yeah.
What do you remember about it?
Double slit experiment. Okay, they shoot electrons through the two slits. If they look at the electrons, they show up on the other side as like in a certain pattern, and if they don't look at it, they show up in a different pattern. Something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So they show up as an interference pattern if you don't look at which of the slits the the photon goes through. Right?
The photon, yeah.
The bands of light and dark.
Yeah.
And then if you observe which slit the photon goes through, then the pattern on the other side disappears.
Okay.
So literally, like, what you see depends on where you look.
Yeah,
like
it's bizarre.
If I'm looking at the slit, then I only see one point of light, and if I'm not looking at the slit, then I actually see an interference pattern.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
Right?
So what's your interpretation of it?
That consciousness creates reality. It's what the yogis have been saying for thousands of years.
Okay.
That the act of observation, that our consciousness has creative power.
Okay.
Now, the interesting thing is that so now we get to Sanskrit, and this is kind of a real roundabout way of getting to this idea. So the yogis actually came up with two words for reality. One is Maya. Maya means illusion. And the other is Lila. And Lila means play. And so interestingly enough, both of these sort of imply a falseness to the universe. But I think what's happening is, on some sense, you've had an experience either through psilocybin or other things, and I suspect other things, and we'll get to that later, that has given you a sense that something about the world is not real.
Okay.
And what happens is,
I have had it many times, yeah.
When you're happy, yeah, we'll get to that. When you're happy, you can exist in a Lila state, which is like, it's no big deal that the world isn't real. It's play. Like, let's just have a good time. It's actually just like a video game.
It's like the experience machine.
Yeah, and just because a video game isn't real doesn't mean that we can't enjoy it, right? In fact, quite the opposite. That's actually a big problem for most of my
and you don't need to know how the game works even to enjoy playing it.
Absolutely.
We always are trying to figure out how life works. Yeah.
Now we have to be careful, because even though you can appreciate Lila, which is play, and you can appreciate that nothing in the world is real, when your depression acts up, and I want you to understand that depression is like a pattern of thinking within your mind. It takes the things that you know and distorts them.
Yes.
So it hijacks this idea that you know that the world is like not a real place in some sense. And then it sort of makes you feel like there's no purpose because nothing is real. But that's an understanding that doesn't actually mean like anything bad. It's just, that's what the depression does. The depression hijacks your thinking and takes the things that you know and spins them in a particular way that like actually makes you suffer.
Yes, but then I was also saying that even when I'm happy, and even if I thought reality was an illusion, I could still be happy at those moments.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Right, but that's because when you're able to step outside of depression, when you're able to step outside of yourself, you can appreciate that like life can be happy and joyous even though it isn't real. But when your depression kicks in, you become nihilistic.
Okay.
So
yeah.
nihilism is this idea that like life has no purpose and no meaning, so we might as well fuck around, which actually isn't the case. So first, Reckful, why don't you tell me a little bit about what happens in your mind? Any questions about this?
No, that I followed. I mean, okay, it does follow that what we see as reality is not base reality for sure. Because if you think how a different animal, let's say we look at an ant, they're not going to perceive reality anything similarly to how we do. They perceive reality in a way that helps them survive. And we perceive reality in a way that helps us survive, right? Let's say we have to notice a lion running at us or whatever, and we have to notice motion more than other things, or like back in the day. And the people who actually saw too many things or saw base reality wouldn't have survived. If the natural selection would favor people who just see certain things more, the threats.
Beautiful. So now that segues into an important point, which is that your mind is designed to survive. it's not actually designed to protect you from suffering.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
So this is one of the most simple things that, like, I think a lot of people, I mean, I disagree with a lot of my colleagues in the sense that my impression of a lot of mental illness is that it's actually functional, useful mechanisms of our mind.
I could believe that.
That are kind of out of whack or haywire. So anxiety is a good example of our mind's ability. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, because I was just saying on my stream earlier today that anxiety actually could get passed on as a trait from natural selection, because it could help. Let's say you're always worried someone's going to kill you. You could have 1,000 years ago survived because of that, and then that trait could pass on. Yeah.
So let's just tap into just for 1 second what anxiety is. And I've talked a lot about anxiety. So we're going to talk more about depression today. But what I understand anxiety to be is that anxiety is simply your mind's ability to look into the future and predict problems. Okay. That's all it is. It's just the future predicting capability. And if you think about someone's experience of anxiety, what happens is they look into the future and they predict a problem. And the possibility of that problem worries them so much that it sort of controls their behavior. So if I'm afraid of looking like an idiot when I do public speaking, that anxiety is actually trying to protect me. It's not trying to fuck me over. It's trying to protect. By the way, can I curse on your stream?
You say whatever the fuck you want, yeah.
Okay. And so actually, all really anxiety is trying to help you out. And the first thing to understand if you want to conquer your anxiety is that, like, it's trying to help you out. And then you just have to understand that it's like a guard dog that is, like, way too sensitive. So there are ways that you can calm it down, but the first thing that we need to stop doing is demonizing our anxiety or trying to, like, root it out of us. Okay. Because once we understand where it comes from, then we can try to put it into context. We can try to help it. But let's talk a little bit more about depression today. So tell me what your experience of depression is.
Okay, it's very hard. It's very hard to explain. The easiest way to explain is I've had years of my life like this where I wake up every day and I don't see a purpose to doing anything. I don't see a purpose to getting out of bed. I don't care if I stream or don't, or if I go eat or don't. At some point I get really hungry and I'm like, okay, I guess I have, like, I feel like it forces me to, kind of, you know, but I don't really care one way or the other. And then I start to think I don't care when I go to sleep, I don't care if I wake up. I'd prefer not to. Actually, the sleeping was the most peaceful part of my day.
Okay. And how long would this stretch last?
Years.
Okay.
So, I've had it since I was 14, and there's like 14 to 16, and then I remember when I found photography, I was like a little inspired for a little bit, and then it went away, and then maybe 17 to 20, like it goes for years, and then I'm happy for a little bit, and then years, and I'm happy for a little bit.
How long is your period of happiness?
My chat would know better than I do, but it's pretty short. I don't know. I like two months maybe, something.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that you hear about people like that? Years of
I think this is a really common misconception. I think you may have clinical depression, but I think what you're describing is not clinical depression. So I'm going to explain to you guys what clinical depression is. I think your problem is that your life is empty. That's different. And in fact, that's what we were going to talk to the other person about today, and we will. So I got a bunch of questions about
Wait, so you're saying you think I was diagnosed incorrectly when they said I have bipolar type 2?
You may have depression on top of that. But what I want you to understand is that, like, there are different flavors of depression. One of them is a biological, organic, neurochemical kind of thing.
Okay.
And what I'm hearing but there are certain features of that you don't really fit that bill. So I'm going to describe what that is.
Sure.
You may be depressed on top of being unhappy or having a life without purpose.
Okay.
But those are two independent things. And the whole point behind what people got interested in last week and what we're going to finish up today is actually perfect for you, which is maybe why people are telling you to come on. So I treat people with depression.
Yeah.
And sometimes what happens is I treat them for a while and they come into my office and they say, like, okay, so I'll, like, assess them for depression. I'll be like, are you getting out of bed every day? Are you able to do this? Are you able to concentrate? Are you able to go to work? And they'll say, yeah, but I'm still depressed. And then I tell them, well, actually, like, I don't think you're clinically depressed. Now you're just unhappy. And there's a difference between clinical depression and unhappiness or a life without purpose.
Okay.
And this is the tricky thing is like what's happened is our society has become so mental health focused that we've started to describe all of these things as like mental pathologies.
Okay.
But I think that this is like, your problem is that you're at the top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Are you familiar with that?
No.
Okay. So Maslow basically said we have a hierarchy of needs, that at the bottom we need like food and shelter, and then we need community and all that kind of stuff. And at the very top is something called self-actualization. That at the end of the day, like we have a need to become like fully actualized human beings who like derive, I mean, it's a need for us to feel like we're accomplishing what we put our mind to.
Okay.
And so I think what you are is unfulfilled, and that you've probably been,
I mean, that's true,
insufficiently challenged since you were a teenager, and that life has not like given you anything that was worth fighting for. That it's just like, it's been like easy mode. Now you may be depressed on top of that. So let's talk about that for a second. So clinical depression is an episodic illness. That's the first thing to understand. So major depressive disorder or bipolar disorder is episodic,
yes,
which means that for periods of time you're well, and then you enter a period of depression, which lasts 2 weeks to about 1 year, maybe a little bit over a year. And that you have a period of like, and then it sort of naturally gets better.
Oh, now one thing. Now I'm worried that what if I incorrectly remembered my past when saying I've gone years of being unhappy, and
That's
now
I'm
getting misdiagnosed. Because maybe I haven't gone years. Maybe it's been 1 year.
Sure. So that's possible. So like I said,
how long do the happy periods would the happy periods be?
It depends on the person, but generally speaking, like I'm looking for a few months to a year to even over a year.
Okay.
Right. So I'm looking for like somewhere between like 4 and 6 months of like a period of remission. Now you could, like I said, you could have depression. You could have depression. I don't know that you don't, or bipolar too. But what I'm saying is that, like, generally speaking, sometimes I talk to people and they say, I've been depressed since I was the age of 14. And if you've constantly been depressed for 15 years, that's not how major depressive disorder works.
Because I've come in and out of it. So I've come out of it when I started like photography. I came out of it when I started liking, I guess, World of Warcraft for a bit. Came out of it when, like, little periods though. I came out of it when every time I find, but then that could lead back to fulfillment. Every time I find this something I really like, then I've come out of it for a short period of time. So it could just be the fulfillment thing that you were saying earlier.
Well, so hold on. Let's talk about this. So I think you're onto something, but that your solution is half correct. So why do you think it is that photography, like, do you remember when you started doing photography? Like, how old were you?
I was 16. My dad bought me a camera for my birthday, and I remember taking a bunch of pictures, a film camera, and then when I got it developed, I looked at them and I was like, oh, I really like this. This is fun. And that's it. Nothing more to it than that.
Okay. How do you remember how you felt before you got, like, tell me about like what high school was like for you, early high school.
Man, it's kind of hard to dig deep into. Okay. I do remember, I like most students, didn't enjoy being in class. I had a few friends outside of class though. We played, I started liking playing guitar a little bit, and some of them played guitar a little. I liked that. There were little periods of enjoyment here and there. We talk about what kind of music we like high schoolers do, I guess.
Do you have fond memories of being a freshman in high school?
Some memories are not bad. Overall, my thought about school was that I didn't like it, but I can remember some good things. I did like.
What didn't you like about it?
Being in class, but I remember liking. I did like some. I played guitar in front of a bunch of people, like an unplugged concert thing, during high school, and I remember liking that.
Mm-hmm. So what didn't you like about class?
It was boring. The things I was learning weren't things that were super stimulating to me, and sometimes I already knew them, but not always. I didn't always know them. Sometimes I just didn't know them, but they weren't what I was interested in. Huh?
School was easy?
School was pretty easy, yeah. I was, I had good grades and SAT and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to talk more about how you were insufficiently challenged, because I still think that's your problem, but we'll get to that. So tell me a little bit about, so it doesn't sound like, I'm not hearing anything about depression when you were in high school. You said 14, but you're not describing anything to me yet.
No, because it's hard for me to really dig deep and remember. I mean, I remember I listened to a lot of sad music. I was idolizing a lot of people who killed, I was idolizing a lot of people who killed themselves at the time, because I was listening to like Nirvana and then Elliott Smith, and then, I don't know, a bunch of other, I can't remember, but,
I mean,
I would
not depressed.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, I know. I was. But the lyrics were very relatable to me.
Okay.
What
was relatable about the lyrics?
I guess just this overall lack of purpose and meaning. Something. God, I really have to. I feel like I'm not doing justice to my own life. To my own memories. I can't remember exactly to tell you, but I'm trying.
Yeah, well, you're not going to be able to.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of digging around, and you're not expected. Like, I don't remember much about when I was 14. Like, people don't really remember much about when they're 14.
Right.
And that's okay. It's just I'm trying to figure out where the money is. And
when I was 16, I tried to kill myself. So when I was 16, I took 22 sleeping pills, and I drank a bottle of wine, and I tied a plastic bag over my head, and I fell asleep, and I just woke up later, and I had ripped the bag off my head, and I was alive. And what were you gonna ask?
Do you remember what you were feeling when you tried to kill yourself?
It was really dumb. There was a game I was playing called Asheron's Call from when I was 10 to when I was 16, and then that game was no longer popular. No one was playing it, and I had no one to play with. And it was the only thing
Asheron's Call was an RTS, right?
No, it was an MMORPG. Okay. And it started dying because of World of Warcraft. And no one else was on to play anymore. And I felt like the only thing I cared about and the only thing I'd practiced my whole life and really loved was irrelevant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. I mean, not great, but I think I'm starting to see a pattern. Okay.
Great is a funny response. Great. Yeah, okay.
So let's just think about that for a second, Reckful. Let's think about that.
Yeah.
What do you think was going on in your head there?
So I think now that you're leading me to the answer, but the Asheron's Call was giving me fulfillment and a place to try as hard as I could and be competitive and whatever, and meet friends and all these things, all these natural human desires. And then
was it hard?
It was hard, yeah. And then it went away, and I didn't have that anymore, and I was unfulfilled.
And then when did you get your camera?
It was around a little after that.
Yep.
Yeah, and then I just started liking photography.
So tell me about the photography.
It's really hard when it's about artistic things. I can't remember like the feeling and the why I like. I don't know, but I was in I took pictures for a while, and then my parents took me on a trip to Europe to show me where they used to live in Switzerland and neighboring countries. I took a lot of pictures there, and I came back and I got a bunch of my pictures printed out, and then I walked around South Hollywood and like into art galleries and showed them my pictures, and one of them put my pictures up in the gallery. And then I remember feeling good that happened.
Yeah. And when did the depression come back after the pictures?
It could have been around the time with the gallery, because everyone liked other people's pictures way more than mine. I don't remember exactly.
So what? Yeah, so I don't know if it was, in a weird way, I don't know if it's because, do you remember feeling like you had done a really good job with the pictures?
Yes,
in the gallery?
For sure. And everyone else's pictures were really edited, and it was annoying to me, because I thought mine were better, but everyone liked the other ones better. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay.
Yeah.
And then what was another thing that brought you out of your depression?
I don't remember the next part because I started playing World of Warcraft, but I don't remember ever being happy while playing World of Warcraft. I played it for so many years. Yep. I don't remember being really happy at any moment, even when I was at the top of it.
So I want you to so I think your periods of happiness, like when you came out of your depression, those sound to me like they're not dealing with the underlying problem. I think what happened is you had opportunities for you to distract yourself from the underlying depression. Like you can get into something, but only for a time. And you can only distract yourself for so long.
Okay.
And then what happens is one of two things happens. Either one is that like something takes that away from you, or oddly enough, I think the reason that photography may have lost its interest is this is going to sound really bizarre, is not because other people's photography was better than yours, because something tells me that when someone is better than you at something, that
I actually want to try. It's a drive. Yeah.
What happened? Your fucking problem was that you were young. You were how old?
16.
And someone put up your artwork in a gallery in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And that means you won the game. That doesn't mean you lost.
Okay.
That means you fucking won.
Okay. I didn't feel like I won, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, I know you didn't. But I think the real problem there, because it's weird, right? Like you would.
I won.
you would think. So we have to just understand that, like, we would think certain things, but we have to look at the data of your life. And what was disappointing, what got you out of photography, or when it lost its luster, was actually at the height of your career, and you could have kept going.
Yeah.
It wasn't like you walked around and you dropped it because no one displayed your artwork. Like that makes more sense. Like that's a loss, right? I walked around and I showed it to a bunch of people and no one displayed it, which is like, that's not even that unusual because you're fucking 16.
Yeah, yeah.
Some pictures. Like, who's going to display your artwork in a gallery in Hollywood when you're 16 and you're just like, you got a camera months ago?
Yeah.
Well, it turns out that someone will, because you're really good at photography. Because you do a good job at things that you apply yourself to and that you find challenging. And when you're engrossed in a challenge, you don't have to worry about the fact that your life is like at its core meaningless.
Yeah.
Because you can find some sense of like external challenge, and it pulls you out of yourself. It pulls you out of yourself when you're.
Wow, that was really accurate.
And the thing, Reckful, is that you don't like being yourself. And so when you can pull yourself out of being yourself.
It's true.
It's an amazing feeling because you don't have to be Reckful.
Yeah.
Right? Because Reckful's life isn't worth living. Like, you can wake up today and you can eat or not eat, but who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
It's just Reckful's life. But when you're doing photography, you're not Reckful anymore, right? You're like taking a picture. You become kind of like one with the picture.
Mm-hmm.
And then the problem is, like, once you get good at that, then you're like back to being Reckful. Like, you've conquered that. And so you're like, okay, well, now what? So we got to understand, like, what is it about you that makes you feel like living your life is not worth living? And we're going to talk for a second. I'm going to get to that in a second, but I want to talk about psilocybin.
Oh,
so
I love.
Okay.
Yeah.
What psilocybin does is it takes you away from Reckful.
Okay.
That's why you loved it, right?
Love, actively love.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Whatever. But like, so your thought loops and the depression and stuff like that all exists within Reckful. Like, Reckful's life, you have this ego, this thing called a humgar, which thinks that your life is fundamentally like meaningless. And what psilocybin does is it takes you actually outside of your ego. We have a sense of identity that is based on like who we are, and like by who we are, like things that go on a resume. So you identify as like gender, or like you have a certain like professional career, you have a certain age, you have a name. These are the things that you identify with. And when you're taking a picture, you're none of those things.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I don't like my identity, is what you're saying.
Yeah, your life.
Okay.
And so
I don't. Yeah,
you
I
have
guess
the opportunity. So when you're playing music, like, you're no longer like a particular age. You're just playing music. You become one with the music. You become one with the
distraction pulls me out of my immersion in a first-person experience or whatever. Yeah. I see what you're saying.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what psilocybin does.
Okay.
Right? So psilocybin is a substance that causes the walls of the self to break down.
Yeah, for sure.
And so whether it's psilocybin, whether it's music, whether it's photography, or and this is the other interesting thing is you're finding purpose. And why are you finding purpose again? What do you like about what you're doing?
I like that I'm trying to give people something I wanted as a kid.
Who's the focus on? Who are you thinking about?
Just people haven't experienced what I did.
Yeah. So I'll tell you, Reckful, listen carefully now. Your depression, you're trying to cure the depression that is growing within kids out there today. You're trying to protect them from what happened to you.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
That feels good.
Yeah.
Feels meaningful, yeah.
Good is an understatement. It's the understatement of the fucking year. It is vital. It is crucial. You must do this thing.
Yeah, I agree with you, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's the fucking understatement of the year when you say, yeah, it's like, it gives me a reason to wake up in the morning. Like, no, this is Dharma. I've talked about Dharma. You may not know what I'm talking about, but people who watch regularly, this is Dharma. You guys are seeing it, right? This is duty or responsibility. It's not something that you're doing. This is the other thing. The really powerful thing about this, and we'll get to the roots of your depression. The really powerful thing about this is that you're not thinking about yourself anymore.
To some extent, I don't know. I'd like to feel selfless like that, but I don't know that it's true. You know, I'd like that thought. Yeah.
We'll get to how you're thinking about yourself. So I think now we also understand the roots of your depression. Because if you want to understand why you're depressed, you have to really envision who is it that you're trying to help. Like all of the qualities when you're saying that you wanted to give people an experience that you didn't have as a kid, I don't think you're talking about playing a fucking video game. I think you're talking about being alone. I think you're talking about being abandoned. And you don't want people to feel the way that you felt. And so you're trying to make the world a better place.
Maybe.
What are you feeling right now?
I don't know. It's just happening automatically. I am. I'm not thinking anything.
Take a moment.
It's nice to feel something.
Yeah. It's kind of weird, right? Because you're crying.
Yeah.
So most people associate that as like a thing that they don't want to feel.
No, I liked it.
Yeah. How do you feel? What do you feel in your body?
I feel like in my body, I don't know how to describe it. I don't know. I feel like I just passed something.
Yeah.
And kind of hopeful, I guess, for the future, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I imagine you feel a little bit lighter. But
yeah.
what we can call it is leveling up.
Leveling up.
You just leveled up.
Yeah. Okay.
You want to keep going or you want to take a break?
No, it's good. We can keep talking, but what games have you played? What's your how did you know my WoW stuff? Or
I mean, because I played WoW like in vanilla and Burnt Crusade.
Burnt Crusade is good. How old are you?
Why are we talking about WoW? Why are you asking me questions about myself now, of all times?
I don't know. You tell me. It came to my mind.
So I think that's us taking a break. So I think you've had a lot.
Yeah.
And now I think you need to step away from what you're feeling for a little bit. And already your mind is returning to normal, right? You're returning to normal, Reckful, where your thoughts, like your mind had shut down for a little bit. And as you start to ask me questions about myself, which I'm happy to answer, your mind is going to start functioning again. And that feeling is slowly going to go away.
Uh-huh.
So shall we take a break?
What do you mean by break? Like, not talk about anything?
We're just gonna
talk about whatever.
So what I mean by break is like you just went through something that was like a little bit powerful and a little bit emotional, and that's a strange state of mind to be in. You didn't know what the fuck was happening, and it was like you went underwater, and now we're coming up for air. So if you want to, we can go back underwater. Like if you want me to just do that again, we can do that again, and you can learn more.
I kind of want to blow my nose.
Blow your nose. Just take a minute. Take a minute, man.
Yeah, you can talk to people.
Okay. Man, that was intense. Yeah, I know I'm still live on stream. I just need to process for a second, too. Okay, so, okay, so I should introduce myself to stream. So my name is Dr. Psychiatrist, practicing in Boston, Massachusetts. My main area of interest is technology and video game addiction. But I have a kind of a different background. Maybe I should wait till Reckful's back, but I spent a few years, about 7 years, studying in India to become a monk. And then spent about 7 years studying to become a monk, and then ended up going to medical school and became a psychiatrist. If you guys want a Harvard Andy, I trained at Harvard Medical School, and I'm faculty at Harvard Medical School, which a lot of people seem to get a kick out of. And my main area of interest until about 1 year ago was incorporating like Eastern medicine, like Eastern ideas and philosophy. So studying a lot of like yoga and meditation and Buddhism, Hinduism, some of the more esoteric spiritual practices as well, into mental health treatment. And my experience has been that like our Western understanding of mental health is just woefully, and there are a lot of reasons for that. And I've had a lot of success through helping people kind of like Reckful, by sort of getting to some root issues, which is what the Eastern system kind of conceptualizes. Like Western medicine thinks about depression as like something that you just treat with an SSRI. Like you just give them medication and you do some therapy, and then like it's just a disease that you live with for the rest of your life. Like there's this idea in Western medicine that once you get diagnosed with depression, you have depression your entire life. I don't believe that. I mean, I think some people do, but in my experience, I've had some people in my practice who have had bipolar disorder, like, or off of medications, and they have these sort of really powerful spiritual or psychological experiences that really get to the root of where their illness comes from. And by getting to that root, you can actually like have someone have a transformative experience, which is what I believe. And in Reckful's case, I think that, you know, he may fit criteria for bipolar disorder too, but I think the basic problem here is that we're going to talk to him in a minute. You ready to dive in again?
Yeah. I kind of wanted to hear what my basic problem was, but it's better I don't know.
No, it's fine. Yeah, so we're going to get to that. So
okay.
I think basically like Reckful's challenge is that something like, I don't know if you guys saw this, but there's something really powerful about what he's trying to do. And that comes from somewhere, right? Like, it's not like you just like, he's not trying to help people with like autism. He's not trying to help people with Down syndrome. He's not trying to help people who are, you know, like victims of like genocide or the Holocaust. He's trying to help like lonely kids find meaning and community and support. And I think that's the root. So my question for you, Reckful, is like, what was your childhood like? Tell me about your childhood.
Okay. So, I have some early memories of playing games with my brothers. I liked those a lot. And I remember even just watching, I would try to stay up late and watch them play certain computer games. And then
You have two brothers?
yeah, I had two brothers, yeah. And then
what was the age difference?
one's 10 years older and one's 15 years older. So I would just watch them play games. I remember I was really young, like 4 or 5, and I couldn't beat a level in Doom, and then my brother went in and like edited the code of the game so the ceilings were too low for the monsters to run around. So they were running in place, and I could just go through and beat the level, which I still enjoyed doing.
Yeah, of course. Which brother did that?
Guy, my brother passed away. He did that, yeah. Then when I was 6, that happened. I remember seeing like hospital cars, and for some reason I remember seeing a lady my dad worked with walk out of the house, and I was like, my thought at the time was, is that my new mom? I remember thinking I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know what happened.
Yeah. So wait, hold on a second. So you approached the house from the outside?
Yeah, because my other brother Gary, he drove me to an arcade because something bad had happened, I guess, but he was crying while I was playing arcade games, and I didn't know what was wrong. And then we came back home, but the hospital car was still there with the plus sign. And then I don't know, everyone was crying. I don't remember too many specifics. I mean, when I came home from school, my mom would always be crying, or not there. She'd be in her room. Then I'd play games.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd play like Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
And
seems like your memory's pretty good when it comes to this.
Well, that memory is really strong. With the hospital car.
Mm-hmm.
But the other, I don't remember like coming home from school specific days. I remember before that happened, I used to get so excited to see my brothers when I came home from school, and I'd be like, "Is Guy home? Is Gary home?" You know, I'd be excited to play games with them.
Yeah.
And that was gone after, yeah. And yeah, my other brother Gary, he never left his room anymore, and he'd be playing guitar. I'd hear him playing guitar.
So what do you think life was like for you after that?
It was very lonely, for sure. Yeah. It's hard for me to remember any more specifics, like day to day, from when I'm 6. But I just, yeah. I know I played games a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, this is going to sound like kind of a weird question, maybe a leading question, but I can see a certain beautiful purpose with 5-year-old you in your life.
5-year-old me?
What was your purpose? What was 5-year-old you's purpose?
Fuck, I don't know. I just wanted to play. I wanted to be as good as my brothers to play games with them. Something, I think.
Yeah, right. It's like simple, but it was pure and it was simple, and it was absolutely there, right? Like you were excited about that. That's what you lived for.
Yeah.
Like you came home and you would like watch them play.
Yeah. Yeah, it's simple. Yeah. So I fucking came out of nowhere. Sorry.
Yeah. That's okay. What are you feeling now?
I don't know. It just happens automatically.
Yeah. So close your eyes for a second.
Okay.
Tell me what you feel in your body.
Something here.
Yep.
I'm really bad at describing feelings.
Yep. That's why we're doing this. We're gonna teach you right now.
Okay.
Okay. What are you feeling in your chest?
Would people describe this as a tightness? Maybe a tightness?
Yep. You're feeling.
I keep. I realize I need to breathe more steadily.
Okay, so your breathing is erratic.
Yeah.
Now, what's happening? So as you notice the feeling, what happens to it?
It's going away.
Yeah, right. And what just changed with your breathing? Your breathing is different.
It's more regular, yeah.
Yeah. What's happening to the feeling?
It's going away, yeah. Another way to describe it?
Yeah. So yeah, but it's going away. Like, would you say it's loosening?
Would I say it's what?
Loosening?
Loosening. Yeah, the tightness is loosening.
Mm-hmm.
I'm relaxing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so now keep your eyes closed.
Okay.
So tell me a little bit about 5-year-old you and what he wanted from life.
He wanted to get out of what school are you in when you're 5? Kindergarten? He wanted to get out of kindergarten as fast as he could so he could come home and play games with his brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say something kind of weird. So, Reckful, I think you love 5-year-old you a lot. And I think you have a lot of hurt because something really bad happened to him.
Yeah.
Like, you love that kid. And something that was just terrible happened to him. Do you see how, like, that kid is not you?
Yeah, like, fuck, it's not. Yeah, it's not.
It's not, right?
No.
It's a different... But you love him so much, and the problem here is that you're trying to protect him. You try so hard to protect him and take away what happened to him, but you just can't do it. And you don't know how to help him.
Yeah.
What does he need?
I don't know. Come to terms with reality?
Nope.
Okay, I don't know.
That's what you need. No, just think about it for a second. Like, what does he need? Like, what do you want?
I have no idea.
Okay. So, but you understand that he's different.
Yes.
And you understand that something happened to him. What happened to him? Let's start there.
He got quickly shoved out of his comfort zone of family and things he cared about. Something like that.
Yeah, I think comfort zone.
Comfort zone is a weird term. Yeah, I was trying to.
Yep. Yeah.
So, I went different
what
term.
happened to him?
Fuck.
It's way more powerful than comfort.
Oh, it's true. How do I word it? Well, he had family, and then he didn't.
Absolutely. There you go. Right? It's so simple.
Yeah.
So simple.
Yeah.
It's not fucking comfort zone. And what do you want for him? What does he need?
Family, maybe?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Fuck, dude. Okay. Alright. It's nice how simple it is.
Yeah. The things that fuck us over always are. Now, this is the really profound thing, Reckful, is that while this seems like it fucked you over, in a sense, of course it did, but in a sense it didn't. This is your karma. This is what happened to you, and this is what's made you the person that you are. And I think that this is like, as long as that feeling is there, like this feeling of loss and loneliness, like that, your purpose, when you saw that medical van or ambulance with a plus on the side, that was the day you lost your purpose. And for a time, you found activities that can help you get past that. You can forget about it. But that's the day that, like, your life changed, right? Like, every reason that you had to wake up in the morning was to go to class so that you could come home from class and spend time with Guy and Gary. And then one day, all of that changed. And it changed you, presumably irrevocably. But I don't think that that's true. I think you can get past this, and I think your lack of purpose is like, this is where it comes from.
I'm feeling a little better.
Have you talked to anyone about this?
Yeah. But I I didn't let myself go deep in it. I guess because it was always most of the time it was when I was 16 when I went to talk to people.
Yeah.
I think I was more closed off than I am now.
Yep. All you need is the internet to watch.
Yeah, well, I became really open with everything because I realized it helped me at some points, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think can help others too.
Yeah. So why are you making this game, Reckful?
I always wanted to make a game. But this reminds me, as soon as I said that, have you seen the split brain experiment video where there's a guy on his left side, it says pick up the Rubik's Cube, and he picks it up. And then it says hand it to your other hand. And then they ask his right side, why are you holding a Rubik's Cube? And he says, I always wanted to learn how to solve one of these. Which makes me think a lot of times when people are describing something they're doing and why they're doing it, it's inaccurate.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. I know I always wanted...
Brilliant realization.
Yeah. I know I always wanted to make a game, for sure. When I started playing an MMO when I was 10, it was because Gary wanted to make a Pokemon MMO, and we were doing research on other MMOs, and then I ended up playing it for 7 years, and from 1999. So it's kind of funny. I always thought it was a cool idea to make a game. I started streaming on Twitch because some game company who made a game called Forge said that if I advertised their game, I could work for them or something, or help design the game, and that their game didn't succeed, so they never hired me. And then now I finally can make my own game, just because I'm streaming for a long time and can fund it.
Yeah, so Reckful, this is really important to understand, okay? And I'm going to reference some stuff that I've talked about before. So I want you to understand that everything that's happened in your life has brought you to this point. You've always wanted to make a game, but that's a desire. That's just like, man, I've always wanted to make a game because I'm a gamer, and that's kind of cool. Like, I also want to, I've wanted to make games. Like, I'm interested in that. I bet a lot of people are. But what got you to where you are, like it has to be the right game. The stars have to align for you to make the game that you need to make.
Yeah.
And there's been one really big star missing, which is like purpose. And I think the reason that this game is different, and it's got to be, because you're trying to solve something with this game. And that's going to give you the strength that you need to actually solve it.
Yeah, I'm a little worried. I don't know that I'll initially solve it on first release right away, but I want to, always be patching and iterating to get there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can talk about that more, but I'm
that's
not worried about that.
Specifics, yeah.
Yeah. So I think the main thing here is that you're trying to do something really important, right? And I think you're not making the game for some faceless kid out there.
Yeah, you're saying I'm making the game for a kid like me who wanted something to go home to and friends to spend time with, a way to spend time with friends online and have community and stuff, which is true, for sure. Yeah.
I would take it even one step further. I don't think it was for a game kid like you.
Oh, you're saying I'm making it for me, for
Not
me as a
today.
kid. Yeah.
Yeah. That's where it comes from. What do you think about that?
That's really accurate, I think, yeah. When you say it, it rings true. It's like, yeah.
Yeah. Right? So I think this comes down to, so if you want to get to the root, you've got to help that kid, within yourself.
You cut out, get to the root.
Oh, sorry.
Get to the root. Yeah.
What a great time to cut out, right?
Yeah.
To get to the root, I think you've got to help you, right? That's what you need. That's where the hurt is. that's where the depression comes from. That's where the loss of meaning in your life comes from, because like meaning was taken away from you. You had plenty of meaning until one day you didn't.
Okay.
And all you've managed to do is distract yourself and find relief through distraction.
Yes.
And you're good at what you do, and you're ambitious and you're intelligent. So sometimes you can trick yourself into thinking that a distraction is purpose. But it's not.
I have a question now.
Yeah.
How did your purpose come to be wanting to help people? I know I'm curious now because now you're talking about mine. Yeah.
Yeah. So my story is kind of funny. So I played way too many video games in high school. I mean, probably as a kid, even before that. But it really started to become a problem in high school. And then after my first year of college, I had less than a 2.0 GPA. And then for the next year, I also like kind of failed out of college. I was on academic probation. And my dad, who's a really fantastic guy, was like, something's got to change. And they tried everything. Punished me, like sent me to a military school and like all this kind of crap. And I just wasn't getting my shit together. And he said, so you have to go to India. And I said, okay. So the summer after my sophomore year, I remember, because my memory is clear about this too. We were kind of talking like late into the night, and this conversation was different because like usually when I would like fail stuff, like they would yell, right? Like I'd get punished, or they'd like be like, you know, I'm fucking up. But this time my dad was just sort of not really resigned, but it was like a really like problem solving conversation. And we kind of like, I felt like we were on the same team, and he was like, look, we got to do something about this because this is not working.
You're 20 or so? You're 20?
Yeah. So 20 or 21. And I went to India, and I stayed at this place called an ashram. And an ashram is like a monastery. So I spent 3 months studying yoga and meditation, and absolutely loved it. And what I loved about it is that we study all kinds of stuff. We study physics, we study mathematics, we study history, we study sociology. We don't study ourselves. Like, even if you study psychology, it's about like experiments about other people. It's not like how you work. It's not like, why do I lack meaning in life? Like, how can I actually find the answer to that? Where does meaning come from? How does our mind function? So in your case, the root of your depression is something called a samskara, which I'll explain later. And until that samskara gets dissolved, you're going to continue to be depressed. And this is why you can have periods of like distraction and whatnot, and you can fit clinical criteria for depression and all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, you have this samskara that formed the day that you saw that plus sign, or maybe the next day when you realized that when you went home. I think the samskara formed the day that you actually realized. Which was your older brother, Guy or Gary?
Guy, yeah.
So one day you actually realized that like Guy is never going to be.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, when the samskara. And so it was a system to understand like who you are and how you work. Like, where do desires come from? Where do desires go to? Like all this different stuff about the self, and I loved it. And so I decided to become a monk. I went to my teachers and I said, hey, I want to become a monk. And they said, that's fantastic. Come back when you're 30 and finish a doctoral degree and we'll take you. So I went back to the US and decided, okay, if I want to become a monk, then I have to finish college, and then I have to like get a doctoral degree.
But you had a purpose, so you probably did it. You finished college?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I finished college. Every summer I went back and studied in India over December. So I'd spend once a year in India for the next 7 years with the goal of becoming a monk. Ended up meeting my wife, got confused because I was like, oh, I want to become a monk, but I'm into this girl and all this stuff.
Your mic's cutting in and out a little bit. I'm following the whole conversation. I don't know why it's happening. Oh, maybe maybe the threshold's a little low. Okay.
So met my wife, and a couple years later decided that like the monk path wasn't the right path for me, or more importantly, realized that you don't have to be a monk to be spiritual. That ultimately being a monk is not what you wear. It's actually all about your internal experience. So the way that you deal with your own desires, the way that you deal with ambitions, the way you deal with ego.
And that for
me, oh, weird. Sorry. Is it cutting out for everyone?
It's cutting out for everyone, right?
Oh, it's the Discord people are saying.
Oh, maybe we can change the server we're on or something. 1 sec. I'll try to change it. We're on US South. Let's try US Central. All right. All right, and then we're back. Okay, go ahead.
It's just Discord. Okay. So, decided not to become a monk because ultimately I realized like you can be a monk. A monk is like it was for me. It was all about ego. It was all about like, oh, like I was a failure at life. So like the way that I assuaged my ego was by saying, oh, like regular life isn't for me. So I didn't have to fail if I became a monk because I'm truly spiritual and I'm not for this material world. It's all a bunch of bullshit. Ultimately, I realized that if I...
You think it was a bunch of bullshit? Yeah. You think you were trying to escape the chance of failure?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Right? Because it's easy to like escape from your failure in college if you were not meant for like the material world. And I was like better than that. I was meant for the spiritual world. Because I'm deeply spiritual and I'm not going to run in this rat race and I don't care about grades and all these fucking peons out there that are living a material life. I'm better than them. I'm going to become a monk. Then I realized that was a load of bullshit.
Okay.
That's ego. That there are two kinds of ego. There's regular ego, and then there's this subtler, more devious ego, which is the ego of having no ego. Look at how spiritual I am. You know?
I got you.
Angle. So ended up doing neuroscience research. So I've always been kind of a skeptic and was curious about like what was happening in my brain when I was learning these things. So started doing neuroscience research, ended up going to medical school, and then decided that I wanted to become a psychiatrist and that I was going to incorporate like some of these Eastern perspectives on mental health, so like psychiatric care and teaching people how to meditate and all that good stuff. And then it's funny, so how dharma works, because then life sort of threw me an interesting curveball, which was while I was training, I started asking some of my like professors and stuff. So I trained at Mass General Hospital in McLean, which are both Harvard Medical School teaching affiliates and the #1 psychiatric hospital and all this good stuff, #1 hospital in the country, all that jazz. So I was surrounded by a lot of brilliant people. And I started asking them, I was like, what do you guys think about video game addiction? And no one has a fucking clue, right? So if we think about the leaders in the fields in general, if we think about like leaders in the fields of like finance, like world leaders in the field of medicine, they're like all in their 50s at a minimum. And so I realized like when one of my supervisors, who's a brilliant psychoanalyst, said, yeah, I think the reason that people play too many video games is the same reason they get tattoos. I was like, lady, what the fuck are you talking about? She has no idea. And that's when it hit me that like no one in psychiatry like has played a video game. Like all these chiefs of psychiatry at you know, like head of the Department of Psychiatry at Harvard Medical School and like Yale and Hopkins and Harvard. Like,
it makes sense, yeah.
People, they've never played a video game. So realize that like, oh, it's got to be me because who else is going to do it, right? And I think like that's what's special about you're nodding, right? Why are you nodding?
I'm nodding because this is a nice sense of purpose for you to have, and you can relate to people who play games because you play games yourself because you're telling you play World of Warcraft.
I think the other reason you're nodding is because you get it, right? It's got to be you, Reckful.
Oh, it's got to be me. No, I was thinking about you.
I'm talking about you and your MMO. It's got to be you.
No, I was thinking it's got to be you.
Yeah, but I'm saying that,
I got you. Yeah.
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 So you're nodding with understanding. So if you go back and you watch this video, you're passively listening until I said that.
I was by passively listening. By passively listening, it sounds like I wasn't really immersed, but I was really immersed in everything you're saying.
Yes, I don't. Passive listening is not you weren't paying.
Oh, passive just means I wasn't giving back body language. Okay.
Yeah, so I think there's something about that statement with which resonated with you, which caused you to have some more body language.
It could be again this Rubik's Cube thing where I'm trying to explain something that happened and it's not accurate. Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day,
if you haven't seen that video, you need to see it. It's crazy. I'll link it to you later.
Corpus callosum. People who have their corpus callosum severed do all kinds of cool things. So then in September of 2018, I guess it's a little over a year ago, I actually made the mistake of just randomly posting on Reddit. And I said, I'm a psychiatrist that's interested in video game addiction. Ask me anything. So the post ended up hitting the front page and I started getting like inundated with calls. So like I'd get like people didn't know how to find me. So I started getting like paged. I have a pager, right? Because doctors have pagers nowadays. So like it's us and drug dealers. We're the only ones left.
I don't even know if drug dealers do anymore, but yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I started getting paged and people were calling me and emailing me and I realized like there's just no way that I can help. Like I'd been working with gamers for years, but there's just no way that I can help like every person out there, and I've got to do
Yes.
I've got to reach people more. And so I had sort of set myself up to kind of be like the next Deepak Chopra or something like that. I was like very like ambitious and
in this way right now, you're AOE helping people instead of the one-on-one.
That's
yeah,
exactly what this is.
Yeah,
it's AOE, right? So I realized that I can't like single target this shit. It's just not going to work. Like
yeah.
After the AMA, I probably got hundreds, if not thousands, of requests for help. And like from all over the fucking place. Like some dude reached out to me from Singapore and was like, "Hey, can you come to Singapore and like talk to us because we're struggling?" And I was like, "Sure, but I don't know how or why." And just gets all these random. So the most even more bizarre is I got an email a couple weeks ago from 2 psychologists that work for the Serbian military.
Okay.
And they're like, "Hey, can you help us? Like, can you teach us how to treat video game addiction?" And I was like, "Yeah, I can try." So you're absolutely right that it needs to be AOE, right? But like not even just AOE in like one, like I need like a global AOE, like server wide, like a server wide virus is what I need.
You got YouTube.
Yeah, so we have YouTube and Twitch, and that's why I started streaming. So I started streaming about 2.5 months ago. And was advised against doing that by a lot of people in like many of my colleagues and stuff like that, because I can get sued and all that good stuff and talk to attorneys and things like that. So hopefully I don't get sued because I'm not really delivering medical care. But what happens if someone comes on stream and then kills themselves or something like that? I mean,
I'll try not to kill myself anytime soon for you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. I actually I'm not. I haven't thought about killing myself since psilocybin, I think.
Yeah, I believe that. If you do happen to have those thoughts again, feel free to reach out. You have my Discord. Yeah, I will say, you can die, but not until you've done what you need to for that 5-year-old. Like, unless you do that first, you're just going to have to come back and fix that problem later. Death is not... I mean, so in my religion and through some of my experiences through meditation, I really do understand. I believe in things like reincarnation. And,
okay,
and
but
I think the trick...
This is where you're going to... what's the word? You're going to divide your audience a bit here.
That's fine.
Yeah, I know. Just saying, yeah.
Yeah. So I also say a lot of things on this stream that are based in science. This is not one of them. So I try to draw a distinction between, what I believe. But I think ultimately, like, once you meditate, you start to have experiences. And then, like, I don't logically believe in reincarnation. It's based on experience. So there are certain techniques of meditation and stuff where you can remember your past lives and things like that. And
consciousness is pretty weird. I wouldn't put it past consciousness that, how did it just happen in this organism or in that organism?
Yeah.
It could be that there's no organism at all and there's just the consciousness is making shit up. I have no idea.
There's a lot of weird shit. I think, I don't scientifically believe in reincarnation. I don't think it makes sense logically, but like once you have some experience, it just feels so real. Is the best way that I can put it. Is it a possible hallucination of my mind? Absolutely, but that's a conversation for a different day. Kind of how I got to my dharma. So now I realize that like there are gamers out there that need help, and that the number of gamers who need help is like astronomical. That for the first time, mental health has surpassed cardiovascular disease and cancer as the number one cause of morbidity and mortality in the United States.
You have a little bit of a tick there. You while like searching for information in your head or something, like stats like that, you roll your eyes a little. Mm-hmm. I'm just telling you, you probably don't want to have it. Yeah.
Why not?
Why not? Why don't you want to have this tick? I mean, it's up to you. Maybe you do. Yeah. But I was just letting you know. Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. I tend to I have a lot of facial expressions that I tend to be pretty transparent about. And if I'm scanning my memory, I think it's fine for people to understand that I'm scanning my memory. We're not playing poker.
True. I do play some poker, so I wouldn't want to do that. But yeah, okay, gotcha.
So
Go.
it's in my professional interest to actually show what's on my face, not conceal it. So I tend to be different from other psychiatrists in that way, in the sense that like a lot of people try to be a blank slate. I just show what's on my face.
I see. The blank slate does suck. I've talked to a lot of the blank slates.
Yep, I think it's stupid.
Okay.
I mean, I actually, that's kind of judgmental. I just don't think it's for me. I'll put it that way. I think some people,
You can say stupid. It's fine. Let's continue. Sorry, I interrupted you.
So, yeah, we were talking about dharma. Yeah, so I mean, now I realize like I just need to help people, and that mental health is getting worse in this country, and I think part of the reason for that. So the other interesting thing that's happened recently is life expectancy between the ages of 25 and 64 has gone down for the first time.
Suicide is
a big part of it. Suicide has increased by 50% in teenagers over the last decade.
It makes a lot of sense. They're constantly comparing themselves to other people on the internet. It's part of it.
Yeah, so I think
that's part
technology and stuff, absolutely. So social media has really started to prey on certain like aspects of our psychology that we're kind of unaware of. And so my sense is that like the field of mental health needs to be addressed way more quickly and on a way broader sense. And what I mean by this is like people need to understand some fundamentals about how their mind works. Like I think it's infuriating that you go to a psychologist and you ask them, how does my mind work? And they're not going to give you an answer. Like there are answers. I think they're very simple answers. Like I think your problem is that you have a samskara. Most people's problems are that you have this kind of ball of undigested emotion that lurks beneath the surface and exerts its influence on your mind. It's like you've had a debuff since the age of 6.
Oh,
and
shit.
That debuff is what you call depression. And there are some times where you can get temporary buffs, like learning how to play guitar, or like...
I like the analogy. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's good.
And so you've just got this fucking debuff. And the thing is, you've had the debuff for so long.
This debuff sucks, by the way. I hate this debuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you think it's a part of, like, you think you got it during character creation. You think it's you, right? Because when you get diagnosed with type 2 bipolar, that's like during character creation. Like you picked a trait to give yourself extra character points. And you're like, I'm picking type 2 bipolar and I get 5 more character points. And I'm gonna pick like good at
who the fuck would pick that? But yeah, okay.
Yeah, well, so you did.
Okay.
So, but the cool thing is it's not static, right? I believe, and I could be wrong, and maybe you're stuck with this for the rest of your life, but I think you can get significantly better. And I think it's like right beneath the surface.
I'm starting to believe it. I'm starting to believe it.
I'm good at my job, but I mean like 15 minutes, dude. 15 minutes is what it took. And it's just right there. And it's so big. That's why it's so easy to get to. Because you have this whole like iceberg. And it's just like right beneath the surface. And if you resolve something, it's not just about grief. It's not just losing your brother, but it's like shattering your perception of like what life is about. Like life became meaningless to you after that. Because that's what life was about. And then suddenly like that's no longer on the table. You give a kid a purpose in life, you give his life, like, because that's the thing about the child, right? It's such a simple and pure purpose, and then you yank it away. It's not complicated, it's not complex, it doesn't have different shades, so it can be shattered in an instant, and then it's completely broken. If you lose your purpose at the age of 30, that's different, because you have different dimensions of your life at that point. You have something to fall back on, but you didn't have anything to fall back on, because that's all it was. And then your other brother stayed in his room all the time.
Mm-hmm. I just realized I just was thinking that my parents are probably watching this. That's
fine.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're welcome to come on too.
They won't, but okay, it's nice anyway.
Yeah, and I don't think it's anyone's fault, right? And there's other stuff here which, if you want to have a conversation one day about forgiveness. And whether your brother deserves forgiveness or whether you've forgiven him, that's...
No, I don't blame him at all.
Okay.
Because I know what it's like to go through day by day, having no desires and suffering the whole time, and for it to just want it to be over. And I don't blame him.
Yeah.
Not even a little bit.
So questions, Reckful? Other people?
No, you did a really good job. You're good at what you do. You're good.
What do we do? I'm happy to hear you say that. But what did we do?
You just talked me through my problems and helped me find them. It was nice.
Okay.
Made some realizations about myself, and it gives me a little more purpose in the future. A lot.
Good.
A lot actually, yeah.
Yeah. So I just want you to remember that when you feel depressed, like, it's not that those feelings aren't real. And there's a lot of science that suggests that it's not just a samskara, right? Because you have a family history of it. There's probably some genetic component to it. There's something going on in your neurotransmitters, which is absolutely real. But these are just sort of different, like, dimensions of the self. And so you can have that biological stuff going on, and you can sort of have what I would call sort of like the roots of your depression are spiritual. They're not even psychological. And that you have an unfulfilled karma. You have something that you owe to the 6-year-old you and all of the kids who could be that 6-year-old you. And you have to help the world become a place where, like, that kid, like, you want to build the safety net that you needed.
Yes. I was thinking, there was a period of time where I started meditating when I was in Japan, and I remember feeling just like serenity. And I wanted you to tell me a little bit about meditation, I guess. I was curious.
Yeah, great. So let's talk about meditation. So what's meditation, Reckful?
Well, now that putting it in the perspective of what you were telling me earlier, I guess I like it because it takes me out of myself. Because I'm not myself at the time, yeah.
Yeah. So I want y'all to understand, so, like, we have a mind, and we think we are, but we are not our mind. Our mind is just a part of us, right? Like, if you think about...
You can observe your own thoughts, and then
Absolutely.
you're the observer. It's kind of mind-fucking, actually, to think about it. If you're observing the thoughts, yeah.
Yeah, so you can't, the observer cannot be the observed. So you can look at yourself in a mirror, but then what you're actually looking at is the mirror, right? You're not actually looking at yourself. So the yogis realize that there's this thing called consciousness, which is actually outside of the mind. And sometimes when you meditate, you enter this state of mind where you have no thoughts and no real perception of time, because time also exists within the mind. And that the more that you step out of your mind, the closer you get to the most basic version of yourself, which is what consciousness is. And meditation is the systematic practice of stepping outside of your mind and existing in a conscious state without the activity of the mind. And we tend to associate those two. But there's a very simple understanding of the states of consciousness. Go ahead, ask.
No, I was just going to say, we can agree on everything else without agreeing that time exists in the mind, right?
So one of the hallmarks of the meditative state is you lose the perception of time.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, psilocybin too.
Yeah. Right. So that's because the perception of time comes from within the mind. So
yeah,
for
the
example,
perception
like
of time is from consciousness. Yeah, that's what you're saying.
Not from consciousness, from the mind. Right. So
what do you mean?
Let's go through this. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So the first thing to understand is, like, we think about consciousness and mind as one thing, but let's understand that you can have a state where you're conscious without mind, unconscious with mind, conscious with mind, and unconscious without mind. There's
okay, I need the explanation. Yeah.
Okay. So let's start with this. So when you're sleeping, are you conscious?
No.
Is your mind active?
Yes. Yes. No, it's not. When you're dreaming.
Okay, so let's think about this. Ah, beautiful, right? But you're not always dreaming.
But I think even when you're not dreaming, you're repeating events of the day. Like, let's say you play piano and then you go to sleep. Sometimes you'll wake up and you'll know how to play it better, because I think while you're sleeping, your mind repeats it over and over.
Well, no. So what you're talking about is memory consolidation, which happens during sleep. Although I don't know if memory consolidation is an activity of the mind.
You don't know if memory consolidation is an active mind. I mean, the amygdala is activating or something, right?
Yeah, so your brain is not your mind. So your brain is doing all kinds of shit when you sleep, but that's not mind.
What do you mean by mind?
Yeah, great. So
all right, okay, let's keep going.
Yeah, so this is the first thing to understand. It's like, if we think about mind, so mind is like thoughts, it's sensations, it's sensory perceptions. That's mind.
Okay.
Okay, so thoughts and sensory experiences. Let's just call that mind. So
is that the what's it called? The something cortex, mostly?
Well, it depends on. I mean, the cortex has different fields for different perceptions. So there's a somatosensory cortex, there's an auditory cortex, there's an olfactory cortex. There are lots of different
all
ones.
The cortex combined, is that mind?
No. So the brain is different from the mind. Okay.
I'm having trouble.
Yeah.
All right.
We're gonna, let's take a step back from neuroscience for a minute and understand experience, right? So we can talk about neuroscience and what the different parts of the brain does, but let's take the perspective of a yogi or an individual. So we're going to talk about stuff that's not science, but that anyone who's watching can understand about their mind. So the way in which we experience it is what we're focusing on. We can talk about the science separately.
Okay.
Okay. So when you're sleeping, you can be dreaming or not dreaming, right?
Gotcha.
So when you're not dreaming, you're not conscious, you're not aware, and your mind isn't doing anything particular. Like you're not thinking.
Uh-huh.
And when you dream, like you acknowledge that the state of dreaming and not dreaming are like fundamentally different. Yes, no.
I'll acknowledge that, except that they're fundamentally different, but maybe this thing of organizing the memories could possibly be similar to dreaming, and we just don't remember it.
Yeah, possible. Yeah.
Okay.
So there may be other functions that we're not aware of. I completely agree.
All
so
right.
like there's a lot of stuff that our brain does that maybe the dividing line that I'm setting is not as simple
okay.
as
I'll acknowledge that and we can move on. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but essentially, like when we're dreaming, we're not really. It's sort of activity of the mind without awareness. So we're not really like conscious, but our mind is still like, it's like running a movie in our head.
Gotcha.
The other thing is there's also this state called daydreaming. And daydreaming is when we're awake, but we're not actually aware. Like when you're daydreaming, you quote unquote zone out, right? So that's actually a state of a lack of consciousness or no consciousness with activity in the mind.
Daydreaming is a lack of consciousness with activity in the mind.
Yeah, that's why we call it daydreaming. Intuitively, we understand that state of mind is similar to what happens in sleep, which is why we use the same word. We use the word dream. Because any
yeah, but maybe I would think that we're still conscious and it's just a different type. I don't know if I would not call it consciousness. Okay, yeah.
Fine. So a different type is fine. I'll take that. Right?
Okay,
so like,
sure.
There's something fundamentally different between what you're doing right now in your head and daydreaming. Agreed?
Agree.
Okay. So what I would say you have right now is consciousness or awareness with the activity of mind. So they're both turned on right now. When you're in a coma or you're not dreaming, they're both turned off. When you have dreaming, your mind is on, but your awareness is off because you're not aware, like you're zoned out. But your mind is still doing shit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Neuroscience stuff we can talk about later. Then we come to the last state, which is a state of consciousness without mind. This is the state of meditation. This is the state that psilocybin sometimes helps you get to.
Consciousness without mind. Consciousness without mind.
Right? So the simplest way to understand
this... without... The mind is the thoughts. So without the thoughts. Yeah. I got it. We're still conscious. No, I get it. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. No,
but you're right about... Yeah. Okay, sure.
So I think we could talk about this shit until we're blue in the face, but I think the simplest way to help people understand is to actually enter that state of mind. And then you guys will know what I'm talking about. So can we meditate?
Yeah, fuck yeah. Let's do it.
Okay, so sit up straight.
All right.
Okay.
I'm ready.
So someone's commenting about lucid dreaming. So lucid dreaming is a great example of consciousness active while you're dreaming, right? Because you're aware. Okay. So, Reckful, do this. Open your eyes. Can you guys do this?
You want me to do that?
Yep.
Dude. Okay, it's hard.
Yeah, that's fine. This is good.
My fingers want to go like that.
Okay. That's fine. Do like that. That's okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to take our thumb and we're going to block our right nostril.
Block our right now. Oh, I'm doing the other hand then. Okay, wait.
Yeah.
You wanted me to do this? Oh my god. My autism is showing. Okay.
You're not autistic.
People say I am in the chat. That's fine. Okay.
Okay. So breathe in.
I'm not autistic, guys. Okay.
He's not autistic.
Okay.
So block your right nostril and breathe in. Use the other two fingers to block the opposite nostril.
Teeth.
And then breathe out. Let go of the thumb. And then breathe out. Breathe in through the same nostril. Switch. Breathe out. In through the same nostril. Switch. Out. In.
Okay, I was conscious but not thinking.
Stop.
Right?
Just keep doing it.
Now I'm thinking. Yeah.
You just started thinking again.
I know. I realized that I was.
Yeah, good. We'll talk more.
Okay. I don't like the nose thing. I prefer to just breathe and think about that, but it's harder.
Oh, you don't like the nose thing because both of your nose... you have a deviated septum?
No, I feel like I have to blow my nose now after plugging in and unplugging.
No, that's okay. One of your sides is going to be more open than the other. That's normal. Which side is more open?
This one right now. Left. My left.
Okay, okay, we're going to try this because I want people at home to do this because this is a technique for people at home. You don't have to do it, but... So block the right nostril.
I'll do it.
Okay. When you take a full breath, switch and breathe out. In through the same nostril. Switch. Out. In. Switch. Out. In. Switch. Out. In. Switch. Out. Now remember that you breathe in through the same nostril that you breathed out before you switch. And now continue at your own pace. Close your eyes. We'll practice for about 3 minutes. Go ahead and finish the breath that you're on. Let your eyes remain closed. Just relax. Now put your palms together in front of you and start to rub. Feel the warmth of the friction, and then cup them over your eyes. Take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, slowly open your eyes. When they're fully open, go ahead and relax. Let your arms.
Feels nice.
That facial expression means you did it right.
Yeah.
How does your chest feel?
Loose and happy and good. I don't know. Wait, how would you describe how your chest feels?
Loose and happy and good is a beautiful way to
Okay.
It's beautiful. Right?
Okay.
So, Reckful, you don't have to be an expert to be right about what you think, right? Because I'm getting the sense that you're competent in some areas, and you're confident that you're competent in those areas, and outside of those areas, you maybe feel like you're not that competent. But you're good,
for sure.
You're good. You're good.
I'm okay with being unconfident in the areas that I don't know well. I don't mind it. Yeah. I think it's fine. It's just like you thought it was fine to do the eye roll. I like that I'm not. If I state something as a fact, then not that it is a fact, but I'm way more certain of it in my head than most people will have to be certain of something to state something as a fact.
Great. So, what was your mind doing?
Just now?
During that practice. Yeah.
Oh, it was...
Not during the practice.
It was off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you were conscious, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what you experienced is what I would call consciousness without the mind. And maybe your mind activated here or there.
Yeah.
Like it would have a thought.
That's normal. But I think this actually helps. This whole play helps with you stopping the mind from activating. It keeps you focused on... Yeah, that's what it is for. Yes. I see.
Yep. Exactly. Right? So the attention required to maintain the hand business is enough of a pull to keep your mind from getting bored. That's why I like this technique.
Yeah, I get it.
Because if you just sit there and you tell people to observe their breath, if they have thought loops, which is this kind of momentum of the mind, you need something to break the loops.
Yeah.
The cool thing is that if you get good at this technique and you start to enter a depressive thought loop, you can do the technique and it'll shut off the mind. And then the thought loop will go away. Because the thought loop exists within the mind.
I found for me, instead of this, when I get distracted and I remember, then I count a point. Just like a game. I'm like, okay, 1. Every time I remember. And also, it's enough of a pull.
Yeah.
But
so that's what you need, right? A pull. So there are a lot of different techniques of meditation. All they are is a pull. The Sanskrit word for this is dharana. Dharana means focus. And if you do the dharana correctly, if you do the focusing practice, then you enter a state of mind called dhyan. Dhyan is not something you do, it's something that happens to you. It's like going to bed and falling asleep.
So I'll tell you, a few years ago, I thought this was all bullshit. But then I don't know why I thought that, because actually, people have been meditating and practicing and learning it for such a long period of time, 2,500 years or so. Yeah. It makes sense that it does something. But I definitely thought it was bullshit at the beginning.
So I thought it was bullshit too. So like I grew up Indian and so had plenty of opportunities to learn yoga and meditation. Went to like class when I was like 8 and thought it was a load of bullshit. Even went to like, and what I really loved about going to India is I found people I would ask challenging questions and they could fucking answer them because they knew what they were talking about. Instead of the people like in my hometown, which had like learned this stuff and really didn't understand what they were saying. I think it's completely reasonable to actually think it's bullshit. I think it's completely reasonable to think reincarnation is bullshit too.
Do you know why I brought up thinking it's bullshit? Why would you think I brought it up?
Because you don't think it's bullshit now.
No, because I was thinking that a lot of people watching will think it's bullshit, and then that it's relatable for that us to have thought it was bullshit before and then not think it anymore.
Yeah. So I think that's great. So that's why I mentioned the reincarnation for the same reason, right?
Yeah.
So I think that the main thing to understand about meditation, I teach meditation on stream, because you can talk about it. Like, I don't care, like whether I believe in reincarnation or I think meditation is helpful or you think it's helpful.
Yeah, I don't believe in reincarnation, of course. Yeah.
Fine.
I don't know why I said of course, but yeah, I don't.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's reasonable to not believe in reincarnation. I think it's like that's a scientific and logical perspective because we have no evidence of it, right? So the whole goal of this is like, if you really want to understand the benefits of meditation and what the nature of your mind is, you actually have to sit and do it.
Yeah.
Because we can talk back and forth about consciousness and mind, but the second you meditate, it took you like 2 breaths to be like, oh, okay, my mind shut up.
Yeah, because the whole time we're talking about it, our mind is on. So we don't really experience it. Yeah, we don't experience it.
And so now we also kind of see, like, when you're playing music, when you're doing photography, now we come... When you're playing music, when you're doing photography, even when you're playing PvP and WoW, like, you stop being you.
Yeah, I'm immersed in a different experience.
You're lost.
Yeah.
Reckful disappears, and you're just one with the experience. When you do psilocybin, the barriers of the identity fall apart. When you're depressed, you're in your own head. You're stuck there. The thoughts are constant. You're stuck inside yourself. You're stuck inside yourself. Stuck. You can't get away. Oh, should I eat? Should I not eat? I, me. It doesn't matter. Someone says, people think I'm a piece of shit.
Mm-hmm.
All of those thoughts, me, I, I'm worthless. I'm worthless. I. Step outside of it.
Yeah.
Learn to step outside of it.
I have recently started to, yeah. It's nice. And also, when I had those experiences in the past that you're talking about, with the photography and WoW and Astronaut's Call, and sometimes relationships.
Yep.
And yeah, definitely, actually.
Yeah. But sometimes relationships keep you in your mind, right?
Yes.
It can go either way.
It goes both ways, yeah. I'm glad you weren't against the psilocybin.
Yeah.
No, but a lot of people would be.
Yeah, so I think that, like, you know, drugs, I get questions about drugs a lot, and I think that, you know, I think a lot of people don't understand, like, we don't understand what stuff is doing to our brain, so I think you've got to be careful. Like, for example, a lot of people think, like, oh, marijuana doesn't make people stupid. No, it doesn't make people stupid. What it does is hampers your motivational circuitry. That's, like, worse.
That actually is worse.
Yeah. I think if your brain is developing, you shouldn't pollute it with shit. Like, I think if you want to do, I mean, I'm not advocating drug use, but I think that the damage that's done to a developing brain because it's developing is way worse than what's done to a fully formed brain.
Okay.
And I think that these substances, like, I don't know if people know this, but like yogis and stuff, even Shiva, who's sort of the first yogi, he's like a Hindu deity, but presumably was a man at some point who was just like a meditator. Like, he smoked pot. Like, because that's what some of the yogis and some of the traditions of meditation use. But I think that all of this stuff should be done under the guidance of a guru, or done, like, it's not just sitting around getting high, because generally speaking, I don't know many people who are I mean, actually I do know a lot of people who are successful and get high on a regular basis, but I know many more people who smoke pot and are nothing. And so I think that, you know, all substances
nothing is really a judgmental term, though.
Sure.
I think.
Sure.
What does it mean to be nothing? You know, maybe if they're enjoying their life, it's okay.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so? Okay.
I don't think enjoyment is meaningful.
I mean,
I think if you're living
for some people,
karma,
it might be, though.
I mean,
what if they're enjoying it with a group of people? What if they're all enjoying it together?
I mean, so I think using it individually is fine. I think as long as you're fulfilling your dharma, if you're doing your duty to, like, yourself and to other people, and you're making the place, then you can do whatever the fuck you want to in your free time. Okay. But you should have a life of dharma where you fulfill your dharma. And I don't think that hedonism, or just the sake of like living a life of pleasure, is like, I'd say that life is nothing.
Okay.
Is that judgmental? Absolutely.
Oh no, I'm fine with you. I'm fine with you thinking that. Yeah, I'm not completely against hedonism. I would say, let's say we found a way to manipulate our brain chemistry to be happy all the time, and we all wanted to do it. I wouldn't be against it. I mean, our goals suddenly would be different. Maybe our civilization wouldn't advance as much as it is, but maybe it doesn't.
Well, I mean, there is a way to be happy all the time. So I advocate for people trying to be happy all the time.
I'm not saying there isn't. I'm it'd be more readily achievable if we manipulated our neurotransmitters or something with.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of concepts there that I think need to be dug into more, but maybe not that we have time for today.
Yeah. It was interesting to hear your opinions. Yeah. Oh yeah, you ask. See if people have questions and answer. Yeah.
Let me see if there's. I have like a question bot.
I'm gonna go eat soon in probably
okay
10 minutes or something. I had a really good time talking to you, but I want to hear you answer the questions. Actually, I want to hear. So.
But I don't see.
Oh, by the way,
How do I Can somebody help me tee up questions?
Somebody help him, please. His stream is healthygamer_GG. People are linking it. My mods are linking it in the chat.
So people are. Is there? Okay. There's a lot of stuff. Okay. So what is a fulfilling life? Is there a way to be happy all the time? There's a quiet debate on when the brain develops. I've heard many different. When is the brain fully developed? Did it work? You won't just. Okay. Okay. Let's. Okay. So there's a lot of questions about flow in the zone and being happy all the time. And can you get addicted to meditation? I think is what one of the questions is. So let's start with so meditation, you step outside of your mind and it can be relieving. The other cool thing about meditation, though, is that I think it lets you understand the other patterns within yourself that keep you stuck. So I don't think that you can really get addicted to meditation, because I think when you meditate a lot, you're going to start to process things that you don't through other forms of distraction. That's why I think meditation is OP. Because sure, it helps you feel better in the moment, but it's not like getting high, because getting high isn't going to, people think they have a lot of realizations when they get high because the mind perceives that it understands things, but then you wake up the next day and your life isn't actually changed. My overwhelming experience in my own life and also teaching meditation in my day job is that when people start to meditate regularly, they change. The way that they view the world changes, the way that they interact with the world changes. There's overwhelming neuroscientific evidence that the brain changes when you meditate. I don't know of... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I really do believe in psilocybin changing my brain.
Psilocybin is different. So there's a set of non-euphoric drugs like ketamine, psilocybin, ayahuasca, ibogaine that I do believe can transform people.
Okay.
So there's there's very promising preliminary evidence that some of these substances can profoundly change people for the positive. MDMA is another one. So there are trials that have pilot studies.
MDMA for PTSD, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And psilocybin for treatment refractory depression. I also, I'm an addiction psychiatrist in my day job. So I had a patient who used opiates for many, he's been using some substance or another since he was a teenager, and then used some of these substances and had some really powerful transformative experiences that I can't relate because they're very specific, but just weird, supernatural, metaphysical, soul, body, reincarnation level shit. And he is a transformed person and is sober for the first time in his life for 8 months, since he was a teenager. Started experimenting with drugs when he was a teenager and has finally stopped using them. The really mind-blowing thing about him is that when he went to this treatment center that uses this stuff, after he was telling me about some of his transformative experiences, and then I thought that he wouldn't continue treatment because he felt cured. And then he blew my mind when he made this statement. Yeah, I felt spiritual root to my addiction, which has been cured, but there's also a psychology to that, and I work on that. So continued with addiction treatment with actually like a gung-ho-ness that I had never seen him do before. It was really fascinating. So I think a lot of these mind-altering substances do have like helping people.
Yeah. You're cutting out a little, but it's fine. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I don't know. You can't.
I do believe that they have roles in helping people. I just don't know. I think it needs to be explored.
Okay.
So people are asking about being happy all the time. Yeah. So I think what happens, state called, which is something that people who meditate very regularly do. Like, very few people have attained enlightenment. But enlightenment is sort of like this background level of like peace and calm, which you can cultivate over time, which starts to affect like the rest of your life. So when you meditate for a very regular period of time, there are some neuroscience changes, the most prominent of which is probably frontal lobe inhibition of your amygdala and limbic system, which lets you just be like more chilled out. And yeah.
I was changing a server because I didn't want to interrupt you, but it kept interrupting. Yeah, it should be good now.
Yeah, so you told him what the problem is. So someone's asking, you told him what the problem is, but how do you fix it? What do you think, Reckful? What do you think about what we talked about today?
I think you made it pretty obvious. I just pursue my purpose, my meaning. There was a word you kept using.
Dharma.
Yeah.
Dharma.
Okay.
I think that's part of it. And I think the other thing is that I think hopefully, Reckful, you understand that like this has a root somewhere inside you. And I think we got pretty close to the root today, which is why you had sort of this powerful kind of experience. And just understanding that there's a root to like your suffering and understanding that root is legitimate, right? You didn't just sure, you may have gotten the short straw in life in terms of having a family history of depression and having like a biological predisposition. But ultimately, I think a lot of your suffering or your lack of meaning like started at a particular point. And that understanding can actually be like the first step of a very important journey. And I don't know exactly where that journey leads. I'd say if you have a therapist, you can work with them. Otherwise, I mean, I think, Reckful, I have faith in you. Just that through reflection and through work, and if you start meditating regularly, you're going to understand this on your own without anyone's, although help will accelerate the process.
Okay. I like that you have faith in me. I like that.
Yeah, I think you've accomplished amazing things and that you will continue to do so. And that when you put your mind to something, it sounds like you're pretty fucking good at it. So I think this is just what you need to turn your mind to when you're ready to.
Thanks.
Right?
Thanks for today, by the way.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on.
I really appreciate this call. It was...
Yeah.
This one day was an important moment in my life. And thank you.
Well, thank you for letting me do my dharma. This is why I do what I do, man. And now you go do what you need to do. And go eat something first.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. I'll see you. I'll keep in touch. Bye.
Yeah. Adios, dude.
You got a lot of hearts in the chat.
Yeah. Let me just switch this. But thank you very much. Okay.
So wait, I have to press this button. He was awesome. Okay. So wait, which one's real? Is this flipped or is the other one flipped? I'm really bad with shapes. No, this is correct. The other one's flipped. Yeah. Yeah, this is real. I had a good time. He was a nice guy and he helped me a lot. I hope you guys enjoyed listening. I think I'm go eat. I stream every week now on Sunday. I made a schedule for myself. Monday through Friday I work on Everland. Sunday I'm gonna stream. And Saturday just leaving it open to things that come up. Like go out with friends kind of thing. So I'm gonna host him. I hope you guys enjoyed yourselves. And that's all. Have a good day, everybody. Things are looking up. We can understand ourselves better. Until next week.